Hi everybody, it's Lene. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. I have another paper bag video for you. This time I'm using gift sacks from the Dollar Tree. You can find them over in the party section. They come in all different colors. I grabbed a pack of blue ones and they look just like this. They measure 9.5 inches by 4.5 inches. So if you have bags that are this size that you've gotten from another store, by all means we can use those. And the paper pack we're using today is Sea Life stained glass, which I thought was fabulous for the summer. And it is beautiful pattern cardstock. It's available, it's manufactured by Hot Off the Press, and it's available at paperwishes.com, which is, the link for that is listed down below the video. And all of the supplies I use are either from paperwishes.com or from Amazon. And both of the links for those are down below the video. Very easy to find. So let's take a flip through here. These are just divided into each page. Each 12 by 12 page has 6 of these little rectangles, little vignettes, okay? And they're called stained glass because all of the little Sea Life characters are divided up into little segments, and they're very colorful, and they're meant to look like stained glass. So this one would look like a typical stained glass window, but this one, when you add the Sea Life to it, it's just something different and extremely colorful and fun. So I thought that the blue bags would work great. They also had green ones, and I had a hard time making the decision, but going for that. And let's just take a flip through. The back side of the papers are also absolutely gorgeous with the stained glass. We're going to be using a little bit of that as well. And you can just cut these apart into segments. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. And they're just really gorgeous, and I'm really looking forward to showing you how I'm going to be putting these together in a little summer, maybe it's a little beach travel journal. If you're lucky enough to live in a state with an ocean or close by, or maybe you're on vacation doing that, then this could be a great one for you. Excuse me. You can also substitute out other artwork for this as well. And then it comes with this whole sheet of little cutout greetings, and on the back of that there's this really like pebbles. They're like jeweled pebbles. They're really, really pretty. And you get 2 of each of these, okay? So let's move this aside. And I just like to cut them apart. They just go like this. But you'll notice typically when I make a paper bag book, we just fold these in half. But how are we going to accommodate these pieces, okay? And when you cut these apart, they're about 4 inches by 6 inches. So we're going to do something a little bit different in cutting our paper bags this time. I'm going to grab my paper cutter. And we're going to remove this part, the gusseted part of the paper bag. And to do that, just take it and fold it like this, just to sort of get it out of the way. And then there's a little line that's going to be going right down the middle. I want you to just move that paper cutter just a little bit, like if you put this line on the 1/2 inch mark of your paper cutter. And we're just going to cut that. Hopefully it's going to go through all these layers. We might have to use scissors. Nope, it worked. So this is what you're going to be left with. Just this little flap there that's about 1/2 inch wide. And don't worry, we're going to write this stuff down. So now my bag measures 4.5 inches by, well, about, we're going to cut it down. We'll just make it an even number to 7.5 inches. All right, so let me go grab a piece of paper so we can write this stuff down. All right, so I've written some things down. So we're going to start off with 4 of these bags, and they measure 4.5 inches by 9.25 inches. So whatever bag you're using, you can match that size. And then we're going to cut off the bottom gusset at 1/2 inch. All right, and then we're going to take what's left of the bag, and then there's the little like sawtooth end. We're going to cut that off so that the bag now is going to measure 7.5 inches long. Just to keep everything uniformed. Now you might be wondering, why did we cut this off at this amount if we're just trimming a little bit extra off of the rest of the bag? And that's because we're going to use at least one of these in our little book, and I want this to be short. Okay, So now we're at this point, and now we're going to fold some bags. So now we're going to take these bags. First of all, we're going to open them up. Open it up like this so that the gussets on the sides are now going to lay flat, and you do want them to be even. So the best thing to do is open this up, and this side gusset right here that used to be folded is now poking out, and we're just going to fold that like that. And that these little lines right here, if they just match up on the front and back, then you know you're aligning everything just as you should. Just like that. We're going to do the same thing on this side. So we're just expanding our surface area. And a little bone folder would be nice. Now we have much more space to work with. And now we're going to take this, it's got a hole on this end and a hole on this end, and we're going to fold it in half with the openings now together. Okay, just like that. So now we have sort of a long, thin book page. We've got a pocket here, book page, book page, book page, pocket here, the back. All right, so we're going to do that with all of them. Okay, for the next part, you're going to need 2 sheets of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And these are 110-pound weight pieces, just because they're a little sturdier than typical cardstock. And we're going to cut one of them for the covers. So you're going to need 2 pieces that is 3 3/4 of an inch wide and 7 inches long. Okay. 3 3/4 of an inch by 7 inches. We're going to get that from the one sheet. Get rid of that one. And then you're going to take that and glue it, okay, to one side. Take one of these. We're going to glue it to one side of one of our paper bags. And then we're going to take the other cover piece and glue it to another one. All right. So that's going to be our front and back cover. Now I've already glued these pieces because they needed time to dry. So this is how it goes. You've got a piece of black cardstock on one of your little paper bag fronts. And then you've got another one. And we're just going to take the rest of these and we're just going to stack them up. We're not sandwiching them, we're just stacking them up like this. So here's the folds, here are the open edges, and there's one on top and one on the bottom here. And it's okay if your paper bag is not quite meeting that 7.5 inches tall, because they're paper bags, there's mass produced, these are party bags, they're not perfectly 7 inches wide. Some are going to be 7 7/16, and that's okay. So what I did with mine, because some of them are just a tiny bit wider, that's okay. They just have a nice little blue border, so just have it, make it look intentional. If you're using lunch sack bags, the craft brown ones, just leave that little bit of extra brown on there and it'll be totally fine. So let those glue, let the glue dry on those. The next thing we're going to do is the binding. Okay, and we're doing an accordion binding. And for that one, you're going to take this other piece of 8.5 by 11 black cardstock, and you're going to cut it to 7 inches, okay, by 7 inches. Okay. And then we're going to turn it this way because it's 8.5 inches. So we're just going to cut that to 7 inches. So you're just going to start off with a little square. All right, so you're going to put on your scoreboard. Score 1/2 inches, 13 times. There we go. I was looking for my little bone folder. See if you guys can see this. So I'm going to count. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's count these to make sure I got them right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 scores all the way across. All right, then the next part is just really simple. You guys, we all did this in first grade. We're gonna make an accordion fan. So you're just gonna fold on those scored lines back and forth all the way across. You know, remember those little accordion fans we made as kids? Remember when you made them and then you held the bottom and then you, like that on a hot day? Okay, and we're just gonna go that all the way across. Okay, so here's my piece accordion folded. The most important part is to remember that this side, this end, and this end have to both be going the same, direction. You can't have one going down this way and one going up that way. So just make sure they're identical on each end. That'll make a difference. And we're going to just hold this together and then just kind of compress it as much as we can. There we go. All right, it's done with this scoreboard. So noisy. All right, and then we're going to need a little glue and our little book pages. And the first thing we're going to do is take one of our covered pages, make sure that the openings are going to be on the right side, and we're going to glue that, we're going to glue that right in here on this first, we're going to call that a valley fold right in there. We're going to put glue on both sides of this, like this. That. And remember, our pages are at the top that are opening, and then we're going to put that in there. It's okay if a little glue squirts out. And then it's also okay if your book is a little bit like, ooh, I didn't get mine in quite even, so I'm pulling. And it's okay if that happens, because as long as one end is flush, okay, because we're going to put a binding over the whole thing, none of this is going to show at the end, okay? So now I have successfully glued my first little signature in, and it's going to sit like this. It's going to be able to open in the middle. This next one coming up is another valley fold. We're going to skip that one. We're going to skip it. I know it's kind of weird, but we're skipping it, and we're putting glue on the next valley fold. And we're going to take our pages, our bag, and we're going to put those in there. Oops. And then, as I said, you just want to make sure your bags are aligned, at least like at the top, okay? All right, next we're going to skip this next valley fold. We're going to move over one. And the reason we're doing that is we want to be able to open our pages easily. And if you put a page in every one, it can be really tight and a little tricky to open. Okay, so making sure this end especially is aligned. All the bags are aligned at this end. This end's doing fine too, but they're sticking out a little bit longer. That's okay. No big deal. All right, now we have another valley fold, and then we have like another valley fold after that, but then the end piece. And the end piece is going up in this direction. That's super important. So we're going to take more glue, and we're skipping a whole section of valley fold. This is the last one. It has the cover, okay? We're gonna make sure that goes on the back. This one wants to be a little bit taller, so I'm gonna move it down a little bit. Okay, we're gonna let that glue just set up and dry. So I'm just gonna take a little clamp and put that on each side just like this. And this glue dries very quickly. I'm really just gonna leave it there for about 3 minutes and let it set up. While this is drying and setting up, let's cut apart all of these little rectangles, okay? So I've already cut apart these, and I just kind of go right down between the sections with my paper cutter like this. And the reason I do this, now the rest of these on this side, these are like borders that you can add. I'm just going to leave these intact. But the reason I do this is it helps me lay my book out better if they're all cut down to size. I find it very, very helpful. So we're done with this for a while. And then you can really just lay things out and just be like, okay, what's going to be on my cover? Well, my cover, remember, these are kind of long and narrow, so I'm going to have to trim some of this down, but I'm picking out my very favorite images, and my favorites are the seahorse and the turtle. Those are just, yeah, love it, love it, love it. The seahorse has an arch shape, so let's go ahead and cut around this arch shape and see how it would look. Because I know I'm going to cut the arch shape down no matter what or where I feature it, so we will absolutely be using this one. And you'll notice when I'm cutting around the arch, my scissors are staying in this direction, but I'm turning the paper. That's my little tip for getting around circles or curved edges. All right, so take that. And then the binding part right here, we're going to do another binding over the top of all of this, probably using this paper. And this is going to get glued around here. I'm going to take these off. This is going to get glued here. We're going to cut it down and glue it here so that it covers up the accordion. Now, if you like that accordion fold, that's great. Just, go ahead and leave that because it's going to kind of splay out like that, and it's pretty cool. But I'm going to go ahead and trim it down. So that we're going to cut this down, and we're going to glue this here to cover that binding so that it still opens up nicely, but then we have a nice thing there. And then this is going to go over that binding edge, because if you glue something here first and then try to cover up your binding, it's going to cover up most of your image, okay, because this is a long, narrow book. Let me know if you would like this same technique done using like brown lunch sack bags. I would like to do that actually for you guys, so that would be fun. Let me know if you're interested in that. We'll definitely do that another time. Okay, so here is our first, oops, come on. Hope these aren't glued together. No, we're fine. That's our first pocket. Page, and then second pocket. See all this nice space we have right there? Pocket, pages, space between, and it just does that all the way back. So there's so many lovely pages. And because these pages are open like that, you can cover them and glue these over this binding right here. It's no problem. Gives you a little extra space that way, and then you're just going to trim it on this side. So I'm going to figure out sort of where I'm going to put everything, trim my binding down, give you the measurements for that. It occurred to me before we do the cover, we should probably talk about the inside pages. So I've gone ahead and I've covered these pages, and I'm going to show you how I did that. All right, so it's easier to cover these pages before you go ahead and do the outside little spine part because they just lay a little bit better. So I've cut a series of little strips like this. And they are, you know, like about 1 inch by 3 3/4 of an inch. So let's write that down. And this you only need to do this is if your paper that you're using is very specifically like this rectangle piece. If you're using a whole long cut piece of paper, you don't need to do this. So this is, they are 3 3/4 by 1 inch. Okay, and you're going to need 2 for each side of the, well, 2 for each page. And I'm just going to glue these on like this. And I want it to be flush with the top, like that. And like that. And then whatever paper you're going to glue in here needs to be that same 3 3/4 of an inch wide. Now we've overlapped onto that binding, and that's okay as long as you stay out of the fold area. Ooh. Get rid of this little glob of glue I have on the top here. There we go. And this piece is going to go flush with the outside edge, and then just try to keep it even on the top of the bottom. And then you're going to do that on the opposite page as well, or you could just do like something blank there, and then you could have that be a journaling page. There's a lot of blank pages like this in there where you can do journaling pages. So I'll probably do that on the next one. I'm just going to put this right in here so I remember. But let's talk about the back cover, the inside back cover, the very back. Maybe that's not a good idea to put that there. All right, so on this page, we have the cute little turtle page, and then this is the back cover right here. And then remember these little pieces that we cut off from our paper bags, we're gonna make the little surprise pop-up. And what I've done is I've just taken one of these and I just cut it down. This one had the sunrise on it, so that there's a strip here and a strip here. And then I want to put something on the inside, so I cut down some more paper. We're going to put this on the inside just to give it a little bit more structural integrity and to make it look pretty when it's popped open. And then here is just one of the little sentiments that are from the cutout sheet. I did have to cut this one down width-wise so that it will fit inside, but may your day be as marvelous as you are. Who wouldn't love to have that pop up at them? Okay, so that's just going to be like that. And that's going to get folded down. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue this in so it has time to dry for a few minutes before we do the next part, which is to put a little pull or handle on it. And that's going to go right here. And then I just have a little piece of grosgrain. This is 1/2 inch wide, and then it's about 2 inches long. You could use hot glue, you can use whatever kind of adhesive you want. We're just going to fold it in half. And then we're going to go ahead and put glue. I'm running low on glue. Do you ever play that little game where you're like, I want to see if I have enough glue to finish this project? All right, so this underside of the flap, we're just going to glue that right there. And you're just going to let it dry. You don't want it to stick to this bottom part right here. You just want it to stick to the part that's going to pull open, because when you're ready and it's dry, it'll pull open like that. And it's just a fun little, like, you could put a gift card in there, you can put a special little note. So that's how that works. And the inside pages are all done in the same way, and we'll take a look at that in the final flip through. So now let's talk about covering the spine. This is one of the papers that had all the borders on it, and I cut that down to that same, well, this one's 3.5 inches wide. I did want to make it a little bit more narrow. So this is the spine. So it's 3.5 wide, and then it's going to be as long as your little book, sometimes a tiny bit smaller. This is 7 inches. Okay, there's your dimension there. We're doing this before we glue our little chosen decoration on because we wanted to overlap this. If we don't do that, then it's going to go like this, and then, you know, as I said before, it gets glued over like that. So now we're just going to take some glue. I think we're going to do it like this. We're going to put the glue here and here. And then do you see how this is kind of rounded? You just want to make it so it's got a little bit of a curve to it. We're going to put that right there and right there. And then we want this side and this side to sort of match up. All right, well, not sort of, you want it to match up. Okay, and then we're just going to pay attention to the bottom as well, because they don't always match up evenly at the top and the bottom. Okay, we're just going to let that dry. And while it's drying, this little piece can go right here. Now you can leave the black around that. I kind of like that, but we can also take some of our extra paper that we have here, and you can just cut a square like this. Okay, and then we can just make little corners. So we're going to do that. I'll give you the dimension when we're done here. When we figured this out, I'm just sort of winging this. And then we're going to take that, we're just going to cut it. We have 2 triangles. And then we can just glue that right there and right there. Ooh, except that looks funky. Here we go. We need to go like this and like this. That's okay. All right, did not like the triangle idea at all, so we're pivoting, and I just did a long rectangle that's 2.5 inches wide this way, 7 inches long. Okay, that's gonna fit much better than me being a little creative on that. All right, then we have that beautiful little seahorse. Let's put a little foam tape on there. My wheel of foam tape. Highly recommend, if you go through a lot of foam tape, buy it in bulk. I get mine at Paper Wishes, and the link is down below in the Paper Wishes supplies. If you're like, ooh, I need one of those. How do you guys feel about foam tape? Do you use foam tape a lot? I can't tell if I use it in my paper crafting more than is usual or just a normal amount. You guys, I think I use foam tape pretty much on, like, maybe not on this channel, but on like everything. There we go. All right, loving that. Okay, let's talk about doing some stuff to the cover. All right, let's take a final flip through here. So on the front cover, you guys, I had to add some jewels. We had to make some sparkles. I also added some of this really beautiful sequin, like velvet sequin, silver sparkle ribbon. It's absolutely gorgeous. I got this in a teal aqua ribbon collection from paperwishes.com, and I'll list that down below. It's also the same one that the little pull tab ribbon came from. So for these, you guys, I just had some of these little sequins laying around in my stash. So I just glued sequins on the seahorse like spine right there, if you can see. And I highly recommend using one of these little fine tip bottles. And I just used it with my Cosmic Shimmer glue. And then I added more sequins and then these great little self-adhesive crystals in the color teal, also from Paper Wishes. I did add a little bit of glue with the self-adhesive because, you know, as we know over the years, the self-adhesive stuff kind of tends to let go. So just a little dot of glue with that will ensure that it'll stay on. Then in our pockets, you can fill them with the little extra pages. You could do writing on the back. Put little sequins here and here on the edges. This is a great little book to add some vacation photos if you're at the beach. And then we've got more sequins and sparkles here. Another added little page. Great places to journal. And as I said, you have so many pockets in this collection. This whole little book is just ready to load up. And then we get to the very back. We have this little pocket right here where we're just going to pull that open. Oop, little glue there. And then that's the little surprise at the end. And then we can just tie this all together just like this. So you guys, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I love to give my projects away to my subscriber friends. And how we do that is we ask you at Lene Creates if you will subscribe to our channel and then like this video and then leave a comment. So like, comment, and subscribe. And then you need to come back next week for next week's video and you'll see a pop-up and it'll say, is this your YouTube username? You're the winner blank. Okay, so we identify you by your YouTube username. You may have seen that pop up in today's video. That was last week's winner. So I really hope whoever that is claims their prize, follows the instructions to claim their prize. We really love giving these away. So yeah, definitely come back next week and see if you're the winner. Let's see what else. It'd be great if you could follow me on my other social media platforms. I love to post little sneak peeks of the paper pack I'm going to be using every Friday on Facebook and Instagram. And let's see what else. Also, I do like little thrift finds and other short little reels of easy crafts on those formats. Also, if you want to help contribute to my shipping expenses, because shipping just went up, you guys, and now it costs me even more to mail these out. These things get heavy, especially if I'm mailing them across the country. So if you want to participate in contributing to my shipping costs, I would really appreciate it. And 100% of that donated money goes towards the shipping costs for all of our winners. And you could buy me a cup of coffee. That link is down below the video, or you could do a super thanks. That's also below the video. Thanks for joining me, you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy summer.